Hello and welcome to I-24 News Sports Weekend Edition, bringing you some of the biggest news from the world of sports this past week. We begin with FIFA. The world's football governing body has been under immense pressure for the past 2 months since the corruption scandal that was brought to light just ahead of the FIFA Congress last May. Sepp Blatter was re-elected back then as president for a 5th term, but shortly after stepped down and announced that a special election will be held soon. Now we know exactly when that will happen. So, who are the candidates? Who is a front-runner? And what embarrassing surprise Blatter had to deal with this time? Lise Barenbaum and Michael Friedman with the answers.
This time, it's official. Sepp Blatter will not stand for re-election to the presidency of FIFA on February 26th of next year.
I will not be a candidate for the election in 2016. I have put my mandate at disposal, and now there will be new election for a new president. I insisted on that. It's not only for a president, for a new president.
After reigning for nearly 18 years, the Swissman is leaving the head of the largest institution of football. The extraordinary elective Congress will be held in Zurich to decide the next president. FIFA is currently facing numerous charges in corruption and wrongdoings. At a recent press conference, Blatter even suffered a prank by British comedian Simon Brotkin, who threw a wad of dollars at him.
Here we go, Sepp. That's
I just called my late mother, and she said, don't worry, it's just a lack of education.
Blatter announced the establishment of an independent task force composed of 11 members responsible for creating a reform agenda. These reforms that will be ratified next February by the delegates of the 209 federations that make up the FIFA conference. All eyes are now turned to current UEFA president Michel Platini. Prior to the election, he even asked Blatter not to run for a 5th term.
I told him, Sepp, listen, we began together in 1998 in Singapore. It has reached an agreement on the future of FIFA. We won together. We worked together. Today I come to ask you to leave FIFA, to resign from FIFA. Leaving FIFA because the image is bad and we cannot continue like this.
The former number 10 of the Blues would see this resignation as a great opportunity. Platini currently has the support of several confederations, including those in South Africa, North America, and the Caribbean. But his vote for Qatar as the 2022 World Cup still has a question mark hanging over it.
The president is completely comfortable with the fact that he voted with Qatar at the time he did. So I would not want to comment further. He's a man of conviction. He's a man who has always been transparent and one of the few, if not the only one, to admit who he voted for. He has nothing to hide and is someone who I think is respected around the world of football.
For now, the Jordanian Prince Ali bin Al Hussein, President of the Liberian Federation Musa Beliti, and former Brazilian legend Zico are officially in the race to succeed Blatter. But the rumors are that Michel Platini will announce his candidacy shortly.
And Michael is here joining me in the studio. Hi, Michael. Thank you for coming.
Hi.
So we look at Michel Platini. So much to keep him in UEFA. Let's remember, next summer, exactly a year from now, even less, the Euro 2016 in his native France. A lot to keep him there. And yet, how could you say no to a possibility of being the FIFA president?
Of course. You know, this is the greatest job in all of football. Michel Platini is hands down the key person to go there. That's what everyone's rumors are. They want him there. He is waiting to make, the decision. He says that after this weekend with the World Cup preliminary draw, he'll make an announcement whether he will run or he won't run. But he's definitely has the backing of the whole football community. As we saw already, 4 of the 6 FIFA confederations have already spoken out saying that they would back him. So it could be a great opportunity for him and for football to turn a new leaf.
And once he gives in his official announcement, surely that will change things. Let's remember the new FIFA president will have a lot of work to do regaining the confidence of the football fans. Michael Friedman, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
The Atlantic shores of Western Africa offer great opportunities for surfing with warm waters and beautiful barrels. Some of these shores have already become popular destinations for foreign tourists searching for the perfect wave. Step by step, the locals are also now taking interest in the sport. Surfing is now becoming more and more popular among the residents of Dakar, the capital of Senegal, which sits comfortably right on the Atlantic coast.
With its 700 kilometers of coastline, a capital exposed to waves the whole year round, Senegal has long been known as a surfer's paradise. But despite being popular with travelers, it's taken a while for locals to get on board. Now Dakar boasts 8 surf schools attended by youngsters like Nora and her friends.
It's good. There's a nice sensation and we have fun in the water. We don't always have to catch a wave. Like now, there are no waves.
Nora is towed by 37-year-old Omar Say, one of Senegal's surfing pioneers. Born in a poor fishing district of Dakar, he learned to surf with foreigners and became the first Senegalese to sign a professional contract. He now runs a surf school, encouraging young enthusiasts to take up the sport.
We lack the support of the sports minister, so that the federation has the means to hold national competitions, because the national competitions help us find the best surfers to represent the country in other competitions. It's the sports minister who needs to act. It's the minister who must be strong.
But surfing is expensive. A board costs at least 150 euros, 3 times a monthly minimum wage. The country's surfing federation counts on clubs and local surfing champions to democratize the sport.
It's true that they don't all have the latest surfboards, but the clubs, and particularly the Ngorowa clubs, do all they can to provide youngsters with the material to allow them to progress.
Bodyboarder Emric Senghor organizes an annual competition, but locals are outnumbered by foreigners since many don't get taught how to swim.
It's clearly easier if you already know how to swim. That's where we have to teach more people, to help more Senegalese discover the ocean, learn how to swim, and discover the joys of bodyboarding or surfing.
As judges mark the surfers taking part in the competition, Senegal itself hopes to get top marks, not only for attracting foreigners, but also for raising a new generation of surfboarders here.
Still with surfing, and when we think of the dangers associated with the sport, we usually think of a big wave crushing the surfer or being hit by the surfboard. This week we learned there may be a danger to surfers which is bigger than any of those. It was only with a great amount of luck that the encounter between former world champion Mick Fanning and a shark in the waters of Jeffreys Bay, South Africa, did not end in tragedy. Fanning is now a world hero for his miraculous escape, but he knows very well it could have ended otherwise. Michael Friedman brings us the amazing images of the surfer who walked away unharmed from his face-off with a shark.
Australian surfer Mick Fanning survived a crazy shark attack prior to the final of the World Surfing League's J-Bay Open in South Africa. The 3-time world surfing champion was paddling out to ride his first wave when a shark surfaced next to him, knocking him off the board.
I was just sitting there, I was just about to just start moving, and then I felt something grab, got stuck in my leg rope, and I instantly just jumped away, and then it just kept coming at my board, and I just was kicking and screaming, and wow.
The Australian swam to safety, but not before managing to fight off the predator in style.
Did you get a couple punches in? I punched it in the back, yeah.
South Africa's waters are among the most shark-infested in the world and include many great white sharks, but Fanning handled the situation well.
Although he looked to be, obviously shocked himself and struggling in a life and death situation, he definitely instinctively reacted very, very well.
The Australian surfer's mother, Elizabeth Osborne, watched in horror as her son was attacked by the shark. With tears in her eyes, she feared for her son's life.
I just couldn't believe what I was seeing, really. I saw this sort of fin, a big fin, and then Mick sort of scrambling and sort of turning around, and then he went down, and I realised then it must be a shark attack, and I was absolutely terrified. I thought we'd lost him.
Surfing Australia's chief executive was also amazed by the incident in South Africa.
I'm somehow perfectly fine.
And knows how fortunate the athlete was to make it out alive.
Oh, look, stunned. Yeah, I mean, really shocked and relieved that Mick's okay and Julian's okay as well. And, two Australian iconic legends of our sport involved in a incident like that. And, yeah, it's sort of very, very shocking situation, but very relieved that they're okay.
Mick returned home a hero, and the shark-fighting surfer can now add another feat to his impressive career.
The 2015 Pan American Games in Toronto will come to their end this weekend, and though they're considered to be a success, locals are far from enthusiastic about them. Even 40 years on, the ghost of the Montreal Olympics, since a financial disaster, is always present.
There's excitement in the air in central Toronto as the Pan American Games get underway. But even at the Games epicenter, there are those with concerns about the cost.
If the city will lose money after this, I think it makes no sense.
A lot of the cities that have run Olympics and countries that have run them have never brought back in enough revenue for what they've spent. I mean, even in Vancouver, they didn't make back as much as they had put out.
With ticket sales well below initial targets, receipts are only likely to cover a small fraction of the bill. Meanwhile, businesses are worried that tourist numbers may actually be down this summer as visitors try to avoid the disruption. The Games has gone well over its initial budget, with security costs more than doubling. Total spending could reach as high as $3 billion Canadian dollars, which doesn't impress local opposition politicians.
These things tend to be an opportunity for politicians to pat each other on the back and maybe push through some infrastructure projects, but we shouldn't be building our infrastructure around games. We should be building infrastructure because we want to have world-class cities like we have in Toronto.
Those infrastructure projects include a train linking the airport to the city centre and the complete regeneration of the distillery district, the area around the athletes' village. Organisers say such projects will help the city for years to come and were much needed.
The last major games that we've held where there's been building of infrastructure is back in 1930, the Empire Games. You know, we haven't done anything at this level ever in the history of this country. These are the largest sporting events, bigger than the Olympics in Vancouver. You know, 7,500 athletes, 10,000 when you include the officials. This is massive.
As the competition begins, the hope is that locals will get into the spirit of the Games and feel like they're getting some bang for their billions of bucks.
And with me in the studio is I-24 News' Charles Biblaser. Charles, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Charles, you grew up in Montreal. You know about this ghost of unsuccessful Olympics, that financial tragedy. Is that what brought Toronto not to want this, or is it another factor?
Well, I mean, the Montreal Olympics were, by all accounts, a huge failure financial-wise. It cost the city almost $2 billion.
And they still paid for it 30 years on.
3 decades on. Especially the Big O, which was the main stadium, the roof was basically collapsing every 5 minutes. In Toronto's case, I think it's something a little bit different. Toronto, having lived there myself, they're a little bit snobbish when it comes to their sports. I mean, you have the Maple Leafs in hockey, the Raptors in basketball, the Blue Jays in baseball.
So they're saying, what do we need this for?
What do we need this for? They really, to a large degree, view it as a second-tier event. That being said, it's also cost them an excessive amount of money, billions of dollars, and when you look at some of the Latin American countries that have hosted the Pan Am Games, they've done it for a few $100 million. Ontario, which is the province Toronto's located in, already running huge billion-dollar deficits. A lot of people are asking themselves, where are the benefits to this particular games?
And now another question is, Toronto is contemplating about presenting a bid for the 2024 Summer Olympics. We've not seen Summer Olympics since those 1976 Montreal Games. Judging by the fact that the people are less enthusiastic about this, is the city going to run towards a much bigger project?
My guess would be yes, for a number of reasons. First of all, if you look at the 2007 Pan Am Games, Brazil hosted them. Then they ran successfully for the Olympic bid, which they'll be hosting next year. As well, I believe that most of the province and Torontonians themselves would get behind such a project. They'd see it as worthwhile. And now that much of the infrastructure is in place to host such an event, I think that they will go ahead and do so.
Because Toronto, as you're saying, much of the infrastructure is already there. This is a sporting city, and they've done this big project now. So there's not going to be a lot of work to be done if they run for 2024.
No, I mean, basically it'll just be on a little bit of a larger scale. But you have to, they've built many stadiums. They've built major infrastructure projects for this one. I think that they'll try and get the most benefit out of it. But more than anything else, Toronto's a world-class city. It's ready to host a world-class event like the Olympics, and I think that it would really put Toronto being one of the top 5 markets in North America, mind you, it would really put Toronto on the map.
Because a bit like London, if we look at 2012, London was a world-class city, and the Olympics only gave it even a push forward.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to certain things like that, it's really esteem. The Olympics is a major event. All eyes are on the city. And if you look at something like the Vancouver Olympics, even before that the Calgary Olympics, it really put these places on the map, and they were to a large degree successful. And I think Toronto could be a successful city to host them.
So we'll surely follow that story. Charles Berleger, thank you very much
Thanks
for being
for
with
having
us.
me.
And that's it for this Weekend Edition. Don't forget you can watch this and every other show on our website at i24news.tv, also on Facebook and on Twitter. Thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your weekend.